This is an important chart. This study was done at Boston and Babson College, where they said that 50% of the 75% of the companies that are in the S&P 500 will no longer exist by the year 2025. And 50% of the companies going back in have not been born today. We are in the transformation decade. This is where we are right now. Now, these are potentially what, one of my metaphors of the future, what the companies might look like. You'll be like an aircraft carrier, so still mobile, but it's the smaller aircraft, the new initiatives that will go out there and take on and hit you. When you are thinking about today, think of trust, think of ethics, think of all of those things as you're going through your transformation.
So our journey starts here. How many of you have seen this graph? Show of hands, show of hands. Okay, so this graph was put together by Ray Kurzweil, who, along with Peter Diamandis, are the main two founders of Singularity University. Ray put this chart together. It's essentially Moore's Law. And he goes all the way back to 1900 and finds that we've been doubling computational price performance every 18 months, not just since the 60s, but all the way for more than 100 years, way before Gordon Moore made his predictions. And the question that he asked when he saw this data is, why is this curve so smooth and so steady and so predictable? Once you take any domain, discipline, industry area, product area, technology, and you power it with information technologies, and it requires informational flow properties, the price performance starts doubling very steadily. And most importantly, once that doubling pattern starts, it does not stop. It just keeps going. The granddaddy of all disruptions is going to be solar energy, and especially relevant for this region. Turns out solar energy is now riding this doubling pattern, doubling roughly every 22 months in its price performance. If you can see the numbers, these are from Ray's book, this has been doing this for 40 years. So for 40 years, we've been doubling the price performance of solar very steadily, roughly every 2 years. At this pace, we will be able to deliver 100% of world energy supply with solar in 12 years.
We are now at the point that we are able to describe the tool set to become more exponential on a concrete level. That's how we are working, because it is needed that we are changing. And it cannot be done by traditional consulting companies like KPMG, Accenture, whatever. You have to do it.
How can we not just be incrementally better? How can we do things 10 times better? Because for the first time in our world, we actually have the ability to do this, to 10x things. These emerging technologies that are coming at us are allowing these companies to scale around us in a completely new way. But another thing that we always see is this watering down of ideas. Okay, so we have this great idea, we want to get approval for it, and then we cut little pieces out of it to please this person and that person, and by the time we actually get to the point where it might get approval, the return on investment is gone. And part of the reason that we can do this is actually quelling the corporate immune system. Now, the immune system is really important. It keeps people from doing crazy things, but in many cases, especially in these days where everything feels so chaotic with so much change going on around us, that immune system is also stopping a lot of innovation.
My name is Yaroslav. I'm originally from the Czech Republic. I've been working with Openexo for 3 years now. I actually have a little bit about me later on, so I won't go kind of deeper into my introduction. But I just want to tell you about the flow of the day, just so you know what is happening and what you can expect. We're very excited about the day and introducing to you, well, I'm sure many of you already know the concept of exponential organization, but I'm working with you more closely and actually having you to experience some of the tools that we are using with companies and having you hopefully get some outcomes for your own companies.
Technology is changing the world. We all know that, right? Most of the companies, I mean, we are traveling all around the world. Last year we came a few times to Dubai actually, and the previous year even more. We are taking like around 200 planes per year. It's crazy, but all around the world, most of the companies are feeling like this man. And I'm not calling anyone mammoth here. I'm just saying that most of the companies are feeling like that. Why? Because they are alive or still alive, but they are seeing a change in their environment. They see that there is something that is happening, and they have to transform to something, but they don't know if they have to cut a little bit the hair, become smaller, start flying. They don't know, but it's sure that they have to transform for the next. Why is this happening? Well, because technology is actually evolving and scaling in an exponential pace. Why? Well, because we use today's technology in order to create tomorrow's technology. And this is why technology is evolving in an exponential rate. As soon as you apply information technology to any domain, that domain starts exploding. This is happening to solar energy, this is happening to information, and so on, go on, right? Well, if we think a little bit about linear versus exponential, what happens is that our brains are only working in a linear way. So we are very good to think in a linear way. Computers are very good also in linear, but also in exponential. Because for me, in a linear way, if I think, okay, I'm going to take 30 steps, and each of these steps is going to be 1 meter. How many steps? 30 meters, right? So it's easy. And I can know, and I can foresee that if I do 30 linear steps, I will be more or less at the other side of the room, more or less, right? 30 steps, so 30 meters. That's very easy. But who could know how many meters or where I were going to be if I take 30 exponential steps, being 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, and so on, right? At the very beginning, it's easy to start counting, but at some point, it's very, very difficult. Actually, if I take 30 exponential steps, the result is more than 27 loops to the world, right? So it's impossible for me, not for a computer. For a computer, it's perfectly possible to know where exactly. But for us, it's very, very difficult to predict.
This map that you see here behind me, this is a map of what we call staking activity all around the world. And this is absolutely fascinating. I'm showing you a view of the last 180 days. And everywhere you see a glowing pixel in green or red, with the red being higher concentrations of activity, that is someone or a server in our network running a piece of software that is helping to run the blockchain that underlies the EXO economy. Now, you know, the interesting thing is that we're really early here in this space, and we're kind of at this point where it's private still. And so service liquidity is the primary form of liquidity that exists in the economy itself. So you can get help with a coach, you can get help with an advisor ticket, you can, you know, ask for a curator. You can, I mean, there's any number of things that you can do. We've done millions and millions and millions of exos worth of transactions over the first year of life of the token. And that's extremely exciting to me. But the really exciting thing for most people in the network is to know that we are headed toward a much, much more public profile. And I mean that in every way. I mean the tokens being available for acquisition by the public. I mean them trading on public exchanges. And when that happens, it's a big shift to our world.
The economy of the token itself, like, can you walk us through it? The economy of the token, is it just mining? So the token is just for creation of new blocks? What is the economy of the token?
So what I think you mean is what we call the utility of the token. And the utility of the token is the access to the underlying transformation services through the marketplace on our platform. And those services tend to be performed by ecosystem members. And so all of those transactions together, all the world over, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, doing things like sprints, the programs that we run for organizations or fast tracks, the programs that we run for cities and countries, all of the transactions for all of those programs going all of the time by all of those people, that's the economy.
If you were to start your company from scratch now, same kind of company, what would you do differently?
I would like to create a asset-less, more technology-driven, scalable model rather than capital incentive or maybe the manpower incentive.
What kind of organizational model would you embrace?
We're operating a university in Istanbul, so it's regulatory-wise, it's not possible to recreate it. But if I were, then I would create a network organization in which students are just learners and faculty also. They were part of, independent networks like agents, and then interact with each other online or physically as well. And all the stakeholders would take part in the development of everything, including business world as well.
I want to give a quick summary of what do we mean by the immune system or the antibodies coming to attack you. The whole idea is that we have multiple levels of immune system. At the individual level, we obviously have the biological immune system that's set up to reject and attack viruses, bacteria, et cetera, that are trying to invade you. At a cultural level, we have religion, we have language, we have culture, background, habits, family history. If you're from a traditional family, just trying to bring in somebody from another religion and watch the immune system go crazy inside the family. At the individual level, we also have the amygdala, where anything new that arrives, people kind of freak out a little bit. Then you get to the kind of organizational immune system, where companies really reject change. And I'll tell this quick story that was really struck me when I was at Yahoo. When I joined Yahoo, I extracted like 5 promises for them to be the head of innovation because I wanted freedom to operate in a particular way. And after a whole bunch of discussion with senior management, we agreed roughly 5 principles. I wanted to be able to go off-site, away from the core organization. I wanted to be able to go off-brand, so we could try different things. I wanted to be free of HR and legal rules. I wanted to be free of the technology stack, because if we wanted to build in Ruby on Rails, we should be able to do that. And the 5th one was, if somebody had a great idea, I wanted to give them equity in that idea. Otherwise, they could just do a startup, especially in Silicon Valley. And after a whole bunch of discussion, the senior management agreed to these basic principles. I made them prick their thumbs. I wanted to, like, blood prints, sign off all the way to the top. Jerry Yang signed off on it, and we were good to go. I remember it was day 2, we're sitting in our offices, I was sitting with my developers, looking at the empty space, wondering, okay, how we're going to configure this. And the doorbell rings, and a furniture truck is outside. And the chap says, I'm here to deliver the furniture. We're like, we didn't order any furniture. And he said, no, I'm from Yahoo Facilities. So he opens up the back of the truck, and it's full of yellow and purple couches and cubicles, and it's like Dilbert hell. And my developers basically said, if that comes in, we're leaving. Because we came to join, like, we want ping pong tables and beanbags and foosball and God knows what. We didn't want to be in a corporate environment. And because of what we're trying to do, I'd managed to attract 25 or 30 of the best developers in the world. And so they're like, no way is that coming in. Meanwhile, the guy is sitting there going, I said, look, send it back, we don't want it. He's like, no, my job is to deliver it. My KPI is to furnish any office within 48 hours. So I get on the phone and I call his boss and his boss's boss, and I call my boss and my boss's boss. And I spend the afternoon on the phone, and I finally get rid of the guy. He's really upset. He wants sign off that his bonus won't be dinged because he was there within the 48 hours, et cetera, et cetera. 2 weeks later, doorbell rings, same guy, same truck, same furniture. I'm like, what happened? I thought we dealt with this. And he said, my boss changed. Notice you didn't have the furniture, and I'm ordered to bring it in. And what's important is he's not being a bad person. He's not being a bad person. He's just doing what the incentives and structures and KPIs and processes and procedures have incented him to do. And what happens with our organizations, we put in structures and control frameworks to guide it to being like a very precision-oriented machine operating highly efficiently, operating with efficiency and predictability. But in a world that's moving so quickly, we need way more adaptability, flexibility, agility, speed, and it simply doesn't compute in this old organization.
What I'd like to share with you is a lifetime gift that I received about 25 years ago. And that gift became deeper and deeper and more meaningful in the last 5 years. And I give credit to Fariba, who said that I should share this with you. Somebody like Salim is a legend in the making. I was touched by one person like this, who, as a university student, I was struggling, and I picked up one of his books at Swiss Cottage Library in London, and my life has never been the same. And I'd like to share this person. His name is Tony Buzan, Professor Tony Buzan. He is the inventor of mind mapping, and we did a lot of things together. We decided to touch 1 billion lives. This was in Poland. We were reaching 1 billion children with learning. This was in Pakistan. We went to Bangladesh, basically to impart knowledge. He was a trainer for Olympic athletes. This we did together. And we travel all over the world. And the reason I am sharing this with you is that last Friday, very suddenly, he had a stroke, 76 years old, and he passed away. And he passed away, and he taught me many, many things. He was known as the Plato of our times. We would like to be here for your 100th birthday on the 2nd of June, 2042. What new stories will we be celebrating when we come back to your birthday in a place like this?
So when you see that star, and you think, oh, twinkle, twinkle, little star, that light has traveled from that star like 3 billion years ago, which means that that light beam is saying, hi, Tony, you know, I was, or I am in that light beam, a giant star, and we will be incredibly fit and strong. I think that by the time I'm 100, I'll probably be 125.
What I'd like to share with you is one of his learnings and one of his teachings. And this is, in the next 10 minutes, you will learn a new language. He calls it the human language. And the human language that we see is, you know, when we are taught how to read, we read like this, right? This is how we are schooled. He said that is not how the mind reads. And he shared with us, and I'm going to have a little test with you, so please play with me, because this is about being playful in the memory of a person who was extremely playful. He was like a child. Picasso once was asked when he was 82 years old, he said, what is your biggest wish in your life? And he said, to be able to draw like a 6-year-old again. And he was exactly the same. He was playful. He was like a kid. And that playfulness is what made him very, very creative.
Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy.
MTP, to begin with, our massive purpose was to add happiness on the move, adding happiness of the move for everybody.
So basically, building up on that, the MTP here is live your life on the go. So the problem statement actually is, here is somebody who's traveling and does not know what to do with the time. So this is an application that we're building up primarily on an experiential self-driving car.
The new MTP for Shell is we make future-friendly liquids to make technology flow. What that means is that Shell is principally a lubricant company, but we plan to change this and we plan to become a liquid company. Liquid because new technologies are emerging, technologies such as drones, robots, flying cars, spacecrafts, electric scooters, 3D printing. So as much as the combustion engine where lubricants are required will soon be retreating from the market, but new technologies come and there's just much more space for all kinds of new liquids to play a part.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Vasu. Nowadays, I wake up healthier, feeling good, and even looking younger. What's the magic? Walmart helps me live my life better. The Walmart family takes care of my needs.
We welcome her to the Walmart family with loyalty programs, priority counters, understanding her buying behavior. We keep a tab on her, what she needs and when she needs.
So we are Bayer, and we traditionally provided medicines and try to heal everybody. But now our MTP is we provide accessible wellness for everyone. So I'm sure all of you have faced this as when we go to the doctors and one doctor tells us, okay, this is the medicine you take, but then you wonder if that's the right medicine for you, and then you have to go to another person, another doctor, another expert and check. Sometimes we don't have the time to go to a doctor. Sometimes we only come to know of our disease right at the end, where probably there is not much to be done.
All right. So first of all, I want a round of applause for Tariq for organizing and hosting and bringing all this together. We have a lot of partners around the world, and it's great to have somebody with the sophistication and depth that Tariq brings to the equation. So huge acknowledgement and appreciation there. We've had quite a day. You've gone through quite a journey of understanding how disrupted the world is going to be, and is already happening in all sorts of domains, and hopefully that's kind of embedded in you in a pretty deep level. Hopefully you walk out of here never thinking about the world in the same way again. The second is what's possible with how we think about the world and where we can really add incredible amounts of value. We found that this model of a massive transformative purpose with the scale and ideas characteristics allows us to build organizations now in a totally new way. And so we have an enormous implication and possibilities there around how we navigate this. I love Francisco's framing of this, where he says in the future we won't be building startups, we'll be building EXOs, not just for private sector, but also for public sector. Right? And we're advising governments on how to think about this and operate in this way. Our MTP is literally to transform civilization. Because we've got some really fundamental issues in terms of a massive forcing function of technology. We have 20 Gutenberg moments hitting us at the same time. This is going to break all over the institutions that we used to run the world. And if we don't figure out how to navigate that and fix that and come up with new structures that map better to where technology is taking us,